One thing you're always supposed to say as a politician is that Australia's the best country in the world and our best days are in front of us. Well, there's nowhere else I'd rather live. But for a lot of people, they're increasingly worried that our best days may not be in front of us, that we're falling behind the rest of the world on things that really matter. I hear from people that they're worried about the fact that they're not getting a pay rise and haven't had a pay rise for years, that ordinary people, particularly young people, cannot afford to buy a house on an average wage. You've got to have rich parents. People are worried about climate change, about the planet and the environment, about natural disasters, but also about the fact that we see other countries surging ahead in renewable energy and set to claim the new jobs and the economic opportunities that will come from cheap power that renewable energy can bring. Why isn't our country taking up these opportunities? People get worried when they see how this government picks on the most vulnerable people in society. The absolute scandal, the illegal scandal, the scam of robo-debt, sending fake debt notices to people who did not owe the government money, over $1 billion. The treatment of people in aged care, our most vulnerable citizens, and now Scott Morrison's plan to force pensioners and people on welfare onto his cashless debit card, cashless pension card. Just disgraceful. Now, I won't pretend there's easy answers to many of these problems. There's not. And it's made harder by the fact that this government is running up $1 trillion of Liberal debt with nothing much to show for it. They didn't build social housing, they didn't invest in technology in the recovery, they've just added tens of billions of dollars to the debt, paying JobKeeper to big companies to increase their profits who never needed it, and spending billions on economic support because they didn't order enough vaccines or build safe quarantine at the start. The incompetence is astounding. But the first thing to deal with the big problems is to have a government that actually takes them seriously, that acknowledges there's a problem and does the hard work to figure out what we can do in response. Scott Morrison has two responses every time there's a problem. He goes into hiding, number one. He buggered off to Hawaii during the bushfires. He disappears for days when he doesn't want to answer questions. Or number two, he blames someone else. There's always someone else to blame. There's no problem that isn't someone else's responsibility in Scott Morrison world. If it's not Labor's fault for raising the question on behalf of Australians, then it's the state premiers. He's always got someone else to blame. Now, I passionately believe we need a change of government to bring us out of this crisis. We will get through this vaccination mess that Morrison's created. The country and society will open up again soon. But what then? We need to actually tackle the big problems, the things that have been revealed in the pandemic, the problems in the health system, the lack of preparedness, the casualisation of work, the fact that people can't get secure jobs, the childcare costs, these big structural things that impact on our economy and society. I believe we need a Labor government, because when you look through Australian history, the Australian people elect Labor governments. They call on Labor governments to do the big things to help the country recover from crises. We saw it with John Curtin and Ben Chifley that got us through the Second World War safely and rebuilt the country, setting us up for decades of prosperity. We saw it with Gough Whitlam, ending 23 years of stagnant Liberal rule. He ripped up the last vestiges of the White Australia policy, welcoming people from all over the world. Introduced the Sex Discrimination Act, entrenching equality, the principle in our society. He let a generation of Australians go to university and get higher education who could never afford it. And he cared about the cities. He put sewers into the Western Sydney and big cities that had been forgotten for so long. We saw it with Bob Hawke and Paul Keating elected to clean up the mess that Malcolm Fraser left, the wrecked budget. They introduced Medicare, universal health, so everyone could see a doctor. That stood the test of time. They introduced universal superannuation, so working people have a dignified retirement. Big things. We saw it with Rudd and Gillard. They saved a generation from recession, got us through the GFC, and still introduced the National Disability Scheme, the National Broadband Network, which the Liberals mucked up, the principle of schools need-based funding, big things. That's the kind of government which I believe the country needs now to come out of this crisis and spring into growth, to rebuild us for the future, to prepare for the next crises. But these things don't just happen. The truth is Labor is really good at developing ideas for the future, but we're really shit at winning elections. Now, democracy is not a spectator sport. The minimum we have to do is turn up and vote every few years. But we can do more than that. Citizens who want to see Scott Morrison gone, citizens who think We deserve a better government that actually takes these problems seriously. No government gets everything right. A Labor government won't get everything right, but will actually care and have a real crack at dealing with these big problems for people. There are things you can do. You can volunteer for your local Labor campaign. If you don't know where to do that or how to do it, flick me an email or a message, I'll put you in touch. You can join the party. The political parties in Australia get a terrible rap, but they're critical for our democracy. They bring people together with similar values and a view of the future to develop ideas and policy and campaign for those policies, to choose people to stand for Parliament. And you can also donate money. You know, I don't have a billionaire funding me, that's the truth of it. I rely on people giving pretty small amounts of money when they can afford it. So you're welcome to do that. I'll put a link in the comments, or donate to someone else. It's tax deductible. You know, there are things that citizens can do to actually have a crack at helping change the country for the better, to get rid of this terrible, incompetent government that does not care about everyday Australians, and elect a government that actually will care and have a crack.